approaching sunset.
Stop resisting or I'm going to taser you. You want to take a run at me?
Bringing a woman's touch to keeping the peace.
Once you show fear, no matter how afraid you are, you have lost.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch. We're speaking it right to you out there. And if we're speaking dispatch, you should probably be listening. Give us 15 minutes and we'll get you talking every single time. Today we have our usual suspects. We have Leslie over there. Hello, Leslie. And we have Joe down there. Hello, Joe.
Hello, everybody.
How goes it?
Hello.
And we are joined by a very special guest. If you've seen her on TV, you've probably been watching a lot of good channels out there because she is the spokesperson for the National Police Association. Here is retired Sergeant Betsy Brantner-Smith. Betsy, how are you today?
Hey, how are you guys? Great to be here.
Great. We are great. We're so excited to have you on there with us. We have a lot of questions about your article that you wrote back in 2007. Holy cats. June 12th of 2007, as a matter of fact. And the article was called The Love-Hate Relationship Between Cops and Their Dispatchers. And I can't imagine any kind of disparity between
this is my shock face.
Yeah, wow. That's so unusual. So how did that article come about? What was the antithesis of that?
So it was a Sunday morning. We were working the 12-hour shifts. I was the acting watch commander, and we had just had 3 12-hour shifts of a lot of bad things happening, and the cops and the dispatchers not playing nicely for the entire weekend. And so I was going to yet another violent domestic, and as I was en route, a couple of my officers started to say stupid things on the radio. The dispatchers started to reply with other stupid things. And I just really had it. And so I picked up the mic in my car as I'm rolling to this domestic. And I was going to say something so amazing, incredible leadership, bring them all together right there. And of course I picked up the mic and said like even more stupid stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So I go to the call. We fix all that stuff. And then I just told the other 2 sergeants, I'm like, I got to go sit in my office for a while. So I went to the station and I got a yellow pad, a line down the center of it. I put cops and dispatchers, and I put all the things we love about each other and all the things we hate about each other.
Oh, God.
And that at the time I was writing for police1.com. And so that turned into that article. It was really cathartic for me. And I still get to this day so much feedback from that. And it actually started a class that we teach called, we do a workshop called The Love-Hate Relationship. And we also do a class called Career and Officer Survival for Dispatchers. And I just want to tell everybody out there, especially the dispatchers, that when I came back to work after my 2 days off, I brought all the dispatchers in who were there that day and apologized for being the pinheaded sergeant that they didn't see that day. So there you go.
Wow. All right. Joe, did you have a question on that?
Yeah, I do. I'll ask one here. I will admit I have not read the article just yet, so I'm going to ask a question. We'll see if it's in the article. If it's not, you can speak to it anyways. One of the things that I hear at least a lot of times from dispatchers is we will be asked to make a phone call because the officer on scene is unable to locate the reporting party or locate the complainant or whoever it is or whatever you refer to them as. Dispatchers will make the call. They'll be looking for other numbers for that person that we may have in our system because the first call didn't go as answered. And they're looking for more. And 5-6 minutes rolls by and they key up to the officer and say, we were unable to make contact with the person. And the officer keys up and goes, I'm speaking.
I'm out with them.
I'm out with them.
Oh, mama.
I'm out with them. And dispatchers just want to bang. And I'll give one later in the interview where the cops probably want to bang the table too. But is that in the article or something?
Well, there's actually something that kind of speaks to that in the article, but then, and that's a good point, Joe. And I'll talk about why we do that. But one of the things I talk about in the article is when an officer is in danger, the dispatchers are up in the comm center going, oh, I hope he's okay. I hope she's going to be okay. We're so worried about her. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then 10 minutes later, after something else happens, the dispatcher's like, I'll kill him myself.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And that's exactly it. Here's the thing, and I want dispatchers to understand this, is when we are out there now more than ever, when we make contact with that subject, whether it's the victim or whatever, we have got to focus on them. We've got to focus on everything all around us, all the officer survival things that we need to be thinking about. And and it's unfortunate, last on my list is to get on my portable and go, I'm out with them now.
Yeah.
So I ask our dispatcher brothers and sisters to be patient with us. And that's why we want our dispatchers to go to officer safety training and read those officer safety books like Officer Down Code 3 and, and learn those things so that they understand that we're not just being lazy idiots out there, that we actually got a lot going on. And we so appreciate all your efforts of trying to make contact with that person.
And then the officer one where they want to bang the table or computer or whatever, I would say is when they key up and they're ready to run a driver's license or a warrant check and dispatch is busy answering multiple calls and we key back by saying, stand by.
Stand by.
Yeah, stand by.
Stand by.
Yeah, that's
And
what
there's
best
also
is-
a tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
the
I
best
always
though
talk
is-
about that
It's when they
dispatchers
tell you
are
they're
able-
busy.
Oh,
The best
yeah.
is when they tell you they're busy, like dispatch says,
Yeah.
stand by, and then the officer picks up the phone and calls them, and it's like, I just told you I'm busy. I know.
now
I
I'm
know,
busier. Now I'm
Yeah.
busier.
These things, dispatchers are, this smartphone is probably the bane of your existence, but also, should be helping you. But that's the thing. And I love this about dispatchers, because dispatchers, they can say, like you said, stand by, because I'm busy, or they can say stand by, which basically means F you,
Yeah.
F you when I want, because you're an
Yes.
idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, dispatchers have more and different and a variety of voice inflections than
Yeah.
opera singers do.
Yes,
They're
they
amazing.
do. Yeah.
I know
And-
one thing. Go ahead, Leslie. I'm sorry.
Well, I just on that point, just when we were training, I tell the dispatchers, hey, even if you're answering a phone call and you've got to put them on hold, or you're talking to an officer on the radio, don't just say stand by, but stand by. I'm in my radio code 10-6 meant I'm busy. You know, stand by, I'm 10-6 running somebody. Stand by, I'm 10-6 on a 911 call. So at least they have a frame of reference. It's not stand by, I'm watching Oprah. That kind of thing.
I know.
But it goes back to that communication. And, I know from that article that we are a team. We may play on different fields, but we're all a team. And that it's all about communicating and making sure that each person knows what the other one is doing, so we can get to that objective a little bit more faster. So sorry, Doug, go ahead.
No, and
No,
you're- Leslie, you're so right, because we don't, we think that the dispatchers, we think the cops know exactly what we're doing up there. Probably they don't. And vice versa. The cops think the dispatchers, because remember, inside every cop is a toddler that wants all the attention all the time, and we think
No.
I know, I'm sorry to the cops out there, but I'm going to tell the truth about us and our mentality. But this is the thing, and that's why, and Leslie, you just talked about this, communication is so important, and there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm sorry, stand by a sec, and saying, there's nothing wrong with a little please and thank you and I'm sorry. And, and I know, because you don't always have time to go into a big explanation, but say, I'm sorry, Sam 66, stand by a sec,
Right.
and so then I know I'm going to sit there and go, man, she sounds really busy. I should, kind of shut down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we used to teach when I was in charge of our academy. We used to do felony stops for our new dispatchers so they could see it. How long does it take to get somebody out of a car? Because there's nothing worse than they're making a stop, a high risk stop, and our dispatcher go, "What's your status? What's your status?" I'm busy. That's my status. I'm doing things. I'm like, I'm pointing guns. So.
Well, and that's the thing. And when we do that, when we train how to do felony stops, instead of having a cop on a portable who's pretending to be a dispatcher, why don't you have a real dispatcher do it?
I agree.
I never
I agree.
understood that.
Yeah.
Right. And being able to participate in the trainings and see what's happening. And I know that I've taken this from some of Doug's teachings is, when you're sending out your dispatchers on ride-alongs, don't just have them, smoking and joking for 8 hours. Send them with a list of questions. And one of the ones that Doug has listed that I absolutely love is, when a dispatcher is sitting in the car next to an officer and the officer pulls traffic, ask them, okay, well, what are you looking for when you're pulling traffic? What are you paying attention to? What can I do as a dispatcher to enhance that officer safety? And start to really have those playbooks almost, so everybody knows what the other person is doing. I think that's critical. And it's, in today's society, we cannot be battling with each other. We have to be
Absolutely.
working together. We just have
Right.
Well, I know that when we would send people on ride-alongs, we'd always ask them, tell the officer to explain the radio in the car. And there was a reason behind that a lot of people didn't realize. They thought it was just, oh, so we know what's going on. No, because we've unfortunately had some officers get killed, and a citizen will pick up the radio. And if you don't know how to tell that citizen how to talk on the radio, you got problems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it came out that way. I mean, I kind of had to tell people, like, this is kind of why we're doing this. I hope you never get it. But if a citizen pops on that radio, you better know how to tell him how to handle it. You know, all the buttons on the damn thing. So
Yeah.
One of the things we train on, Doug, is the portable radio that an officer carries. And we actually keep one in our dispatch center
Oh, wow.
for every dispatcher that would be working. So we typically have 5 people working at a time. There's 6 portable radios that sit in the bay charger in our dispatch center. Because if we have to evacuate the center for a tornado, a derecho, whatever reason, we can grab a portable radio and still remain in communication. And if you don't know how to use a portable radio that an officer in your jurisdiction is utilizing, I encourage every dispatcher to learn how to use that radio.
yeah.
Great
And
advice.
that's such a great point. And let me just say that I know there's some cops listening that are thinking, how do you not know how to use the
Yeah.
portable radio? I would ask any one of those cops to walk into your comm center and figure out how to use that stuff there.
Yeah.
And I would ask some of the cops to show me that they know how to use their own radio if it's a really highly sophisticated program one, because I deal with that on a regular basis.
Yeah, we discovered that when one of our last training days, I had the dispatcher go and sit around a patrol car, and we had the officer. I told the officer, just come and show us like some parts of what it does on the inside. And the officer had to confess to me, I'm not really sure what it does. How do you do that? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I'm trying to train my people. And you're like, I don't even know how to work that. I have no idea.
That's why every rookie needs to spend time with a dispatch trainer.
Yep.
Yes.
It's important.
Yeah,
I mean,
and-
go ahead.
And have them, we have found that having an officer sit in there at the beginning of their training, which is sometimes when the newer officers are coming in, well, life's coming at them way too fast already. So to add the whole dispatch component, but we have them come in at the end of their training, and that's when they're plugged in, they're talking on the phone, they're talking on the radio. The dispatcher is typing, but we have seen that relationship and that trust between those employees has grown exponentially, because they now know, oh, okay, well, when she says, hey, I'm busy, they say, I've sat in that chair. I know what busy looks like, and I totally get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, though. I mean, we kind of put stuff on people, like, you know, they probably think dispatch is sitting in there eating a sandwich and not doing a damn thing. And we think officers are just about going to their beat wife. And I'm just kidding. No beat.
Oh,
I'm not,
wow.
but they're out there doing something.
You're exposing some secrets here, Doug.
I know I shouldn't say that kind of thing. So they're out there doing extra work, extracurricular activities. And so, but it's like, we forget that stuff. That's why I thought ride-alongs are so important, and sit-alongs, to kind of get us in that mindset of, they're out there doing a lot of important stuff and dangerous stuff nowadays, for God's sakes. And that's why I'm almost kind of glad I'm retired, because it used to drive me crazy when I'd see officers kind of walk out the door like, see you later, Doug. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm always telling them, please be careful, do something. I mean, it seems so dangerous nowadays that it really was making me get really nervous for them. I'm like, answer the radio quickly, say something. I mean, whatever's going on out there.
And when you talk about getting officers or dispatchers involved, Betsy, one of the things that I listened to during an academy was they were going to be doing some traffic work by chasing a suspect vehicle out at our racetrack in our jurisdiction, and have the officer work on talking on the radio at the same time. Well, they had one of the commanders being the dispatcher, and I sat there and I listened to that radio transmissions for the day, and it sounded like a commander being a commander rather than a commander being a dispatcher. So speak to getting some role play involved so dispatchers can actually assist these officers. Talk to about doing role play with dispatchers a little more.
Yeah, Joe, that's a brilliant point, because, you know, there are so many times when we are doing scenario-based training, whether it's right away at the academy or in-service training, SWAT training, hostage negotiation, all that stuff. We've got to stop having cops play dispatchers in scenario-based training.
Yeah.
We've got to have dispatchers actually do it, and preferably dispatchers who are trainers who have been to training who are certified trainers, field training dispatchers, all of that stuff, so that they understand how to teach people as well. And that is, dispatchers, every dispatcher is a trainer, and I want dispatchers to understand that every day when you are working, or every night, you are helping to train those cops and firefighters and paramedics, to do the right things to keep themselves safe. I want dispatchers to always see themselves as trainers, but I want administrators to understand that dispatchers need the training to get involved in those scenario-based situations, so that what the officers are listening to is what they're going to hear in the field. And I mean, this even when we're talking about FATS training, any kind of scenario-based shooting, all that stuff, get the dispatchers involved.
Yeah. A lot of agencies, and I'm surprised to this day, I'll go teach a class and I'll ask them, you guys must go and do ride-alongs, and they're like, oh, they won't let us go anywhere with these guys. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that makes no sense to me. I mean, why would you not? We did warrant service training before I retired, and we were in the house where we wouldn't let the officers come in, and just to stand there and watch them come through the front door going, oh God, I'd give up quickly. So it's like, I mean, it's a great experience to see that stuff and we go, wow, that's what it looks like on the other side, what they're seeing. I mean, that's also important.
Know that if you do some of this role play, I'll speak to being a suspect in active shooter training, that the cops may like to have a little fun with the dispatchers. So the role I got was being the terrified suspect that kept his hands in his pockets as the SWAT team come into the building. And I found out real quickly that when they train in these real life scenarios, they train for real. So that was an interesting day for me, but I learned a lot by doing it. And one thing that I'm going to say, Betsy, is first of all, thanks for coming on and being with us, but I cannot wait to read this article of yours. I was one of the ones that hadn't read it. Doug, when we post this episode, make sure we post a link to her article. Post a link to it.
Absolutely.
And read that.
It's such a good article. It really is.
And I would love to say, just, we're getting close to the end of time. Hey, dispatchers, I'm talking to you now. We speak dispatch. Don't wait for patrol to come to you and say, hey, would you like to be involved in this training? Sometimes it's not that patrol is not thinking or they don't want you to be there. It's just that it doesn't occur to them. The worst thing that you can do is sit there and not ask. Talk to your watch commander, talk to your sergeant, talk to the guys that you work with on a regular basis and say, hey, I was in briefing, or I heard that you were going to this training. Would it be okay if a dispatcher went? And they're probably going to be, oh my God, what a great idea. And then you'll start to find that that becomes a recurring event. So don't wait for somebody to ask you. I don't know a lot of wallflower dispatchers who are just sitting back and being quiet. If you're thinking it, go and ask. The worst they can say is no.
And make sure you ask. Don't complain and say, how come we don't do it? Say, you know what, be professional, be nice about it. Say, we want to get something out of this training. So Betsy, thank you for coming on another episode of We Speak Dispatch. We just loved having you out there, and I'm sure we'll have you back. I have no doubt. So unless you're very busy with national news, but whatever. So
I can do both.
You can do both. Well, thanks a lot for coming in. And Joe, tell us how many plays we got now? What do we got?
Yeah, we're over 10,000 plays. We've been at this 1.5 years. In May will be our 2-year anniversary, and we're in over 30 countries. 30 countries. And it's because of not only us, but special guests like Betsy for joining us.
Exactly true. 30 countries. I don't even know what countries they even are, probably, but who knows? So I'm glad to have it out there. So if you got any questions about We Speak Dispatch, please leave us a comment, leave us a question, whatever it might be. We'll get it to Betsy if we need to. But that article we'll make sure we put a link to it up on our site. And Betsy, do you know if it's posted somewhere else where you can get it? I don't know.
It's on policeone.com.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. It's still on policeone.com, or you can Google it and find it. Google the title and you find it. Don't Google the National Police Association. You'll get a bunch of hate. Go to nationalpolice.org to find out what we really do.
Wow. Yeah, wow. I forgot. I should have said that one on there. Wow. Well,
good tip.
Betsy, thank you for coming on as the national spokesperson for the National Police Association. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Have a nice day, everybody. Good luck to you.
Hey, this is Jill, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.
Down approaching sunset.